There is an island at the southernmost edge of India, remote, heavily forested, and home to indigenous communities. But India has a very different vision for it. A massive international transshipment port, a new airport, a power plant, and an entirely new township. A project that could eventually handle 14.2 million shipping containers every year. And the government says it could transform Great Nicobar into a major economic and strategic hub. But this didn't happen overnight. So, why did India decide to transform the Great Nicobar? And why does this tiny island matter so much to India's future in the Indian Ocean? Let's understand the Great Nicobar project in this episode of The Other Side. To understand the Great Nicobar project, we need to go back to 2017. In June that year, the government of India established the Island Development Agency or IDA. The objective was to develop India's islands by improving its infrastructure, connectivity, and economic opportunities, while also considering security and environmental concerns. And Great Nicobar was eventually identified as one of the islands with significant development potential. Over the next few years, this project became more ambitious. In 2022, the Great Nicobar project finally moved from an idea stage to a proper implementation stage. On November 11, 2022, the project received environmental clearance, and then on January 27, 2023, the Ministry of Ports, Waterways and Shipping finally announced that it would invite companies to participate in developing the international container shipment port at Galathea Bay. That announcement revealed something more important, that this wasn't just a port project. The government was planning an entire new economic ecosystem around it: port, airport, power plant and township. Now look at where Great Nicobar is located. It is roughly 40 nautical miles from the major east-west international shipping route, and the waters around the island have a natural depth of more than 20 meters, making the location attractive for very large ships. And that creates an enormous opportunity because India has a problem. A large share of India's transshipped cargo is handled outside India. Ships carrying Indian cargo often stop at places like Colombo or Singapore before reaching its final destination. In 2023, the government said nearly 75% of India's transshipped cargo was handled outside India. Think about what that means. Indian cargo, Indian businesses, but the transshipped business is handled by someone else, somewhere else. And India has a problem with that. India wants to change that, and Great Nicobar could be the answer. At the center of the project is the International Container Transshipment Terminal at Galathea Bay. The original 2023 plan envisaged the port being developed in phases, eventually reaching around 16 million TEUs of annual capacity. But the latest government plan, however, describes a terminal with a capacity of 14.2 million TEUs. So, what does exactly a transshipment port do? Now, imagine a giant container ship traveling from China to Europe. Instead of stopping at multiple smaller ports, the container ship can bring in multiple or thousands containers to a major hub, redistribute them to smaller ships, which then further redistribute it to their respective destinations. If the Great Nicobar becomes that hub, it could capture major chunk of this business, which means more shipping, more logistics, more warehousing, more ship services, and eventually more money. Now, here's where the story becomes geopolitical. Great Nicobar isn't just sitting close to a major shipping route, it is positioned close to Malacca Strait. And Malacca Strait is one of the most important maritime choke points of the world. If you want to know more about Malacca Strait, please check out our video on the same. The link would be in the description. A huge amount of trade and energy flows through this region, which means whoever can operate and control these waters has a huge strategic advantage. And that is why Great Nicobar matters to India's security calculations as well. The government itself describes the project as strategic, defense, and national security significance. The airport, port, and other infrastructure would also allow India to maintain a much stronger permanent presence in this part of Indian Ocean. And then there's China. Now, China depends heavily on maritime trade, and a significant portion of China's energy and commercial traffic travels through the Indian Ocean. And that makes Indian Ocean increasingly important between India and China. India does not need to control Malacca Strait, but having a strong presence in it gives India something extremely valuable: awareness. The ability to monitor maritime movement, the ability to respond faster, and the ability to protect its own interest in the Eastern Indian Ocean. So when you look at Great Nicobar on a map, it stops looking like a remote island and starts looking like a strategic piece on a much bigger chessboard. But there's another side to the story. Great Nicobar is not an empty piece of land waiting to be developed. It has some of India's most sensitive ecosystems, and it is also home to indigenous communities like the Shompen and the Nicobarese. This is where the project has attracted significant environmental and social scrutiny. The government says that there will be no displacement of the Shompen and Nicobarese communities, and that environmental safeguards and mechanisms have been built into the project. But the scale of development is enormous. The government also acknowledges that forest land would be diverted for this project. Its environmental approvals include conditions covering biodiversity, marine ecology, pollution, disaster management, and tribal welfare. And that creates one of the biggest questions surrounding the Great Nicobar. Can India develop this strategically important island without permanently damaging the ecosystem that makes it unique? So that's it for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you enjoy watching our content, please do subscribe to the channel, because we are going to break geopolitics and economics in a way that makes sense for all of us. See you in the next one soon. Till then, stay happy, stay diplomatic. This is Dev this side signing off. Peace.